Good evening. I'm your host, Karen Hudis, in this series on the network of global corporate control. Today's segment is called WHODUNIT and is a sequel to the July 19th segment on Sean Haros's video, Stop the Swiss Nazis. We're coming to you live from DCTV's Studio A. Our last live segment was 4 weeks ago. Thanks to Carmen Stanley, studio producer and director, Mo Jackson, audio and prompter, and Mark Wesley, floor director. This week, there's been a discussion on a website about how vaccine makers have dismantled the United States Constitution. So I made the point that the Constitution of 1789 had already been dismantled by the bankers in 1871. I wanted to share my answer to one of the commentators on YouTube, Ken S., who said, "You're making an extraordinary claim. You're claiming that the Constitution of 1789 is no longer in effect and has been replaced by people with no authority to do so by a process that has no constitutional validity. You haven't shown me any verifiable act that is consistent with the supposed secret Constitution and not the Constitution of 1789. I'm asking for your answer in your words, not a link salad leading to a dozen enormous unrelated screeds. Demonstrate to me that the supposed Constitution of 1871 is in force. I need something I can verify, like an act of Congress or a judicial decision that isn't just on your own website, Twitter, or somebody else's sovereign citizen website. You know, on Twitter, you're supposed to keep your statements short and sweet. So I usually come up with a catchy phrase to get people to click on the links. My tweet for the answer to Ken S.'s comment was, "Ask and ye shall receive." Because sometimes Twitter breaks the links, for good measure, I simply posted a screenshot of my answer, which is the following. I have told you that the interest on the Revolutionary War debt mounted up and could not be repaid, and the bankers thought that gave them the right to suspend the Constitution of 1789. Because we were accepting the paper money that it cost the bankers nothing to print, they could use that to bribe Congress. So Congress went along with the scam, and now the country debt is so big that the bankers think they can crash our whole country with their paper. In the meanwhile, I am working with the 188 ministers of finance who control the world's gold. We have learned that Switzerland is home to the network of global corporate control. The network of global corporate control is a conglomerate that has been corrupting all of the politicians and business moguls in the world. From Sean Haros, we also learned that the network of global corporate control has been operating out of Switzerland ever since the Templars were outlawed in France on Friday, October 13th, 1307, when the French king, Philip the Fair, arrested all the Templars in France. We also learned how during the 30 Years' War between 1618 until 1648, about 100,000 Swiss mercenaries under Templar control committed genocide against the Germans, killing 20 million Germans and their children, corresponding to 2/3 of the German population. Whole cities disappeared from the earth. And in Alsace-Lorraine, Gallo-Roman Alsace-Swiss mercenaries killed 95% of the population. In 2014, there was word in major international newspapers that Switzerland wants to build a great empire now with Alsace, southern Germany, western Austria, and northern Italy, and repatriate to the Reich all ethnic Swiss. What we have here is a modern-day whodunit. We're putting all these clues together. Who is we? It is the Coalition for the Rule of Law that is predicted by the power transition model that came to the World Bank in 2004 and which is 90 to 95% accurate. Now let me give you one other clue. It's about Major General Konstantin Petrov, leader of the Conceptual Party and head of the opposition project concept in the civil security. Konstantin Petrov died on July 21st, 2009. He supposedly died of natural causes, but his friends and colleagues still believe that Petrov was poisoned. And now let's show a clip, Carmen, about Konstantin Petrov.
This is a message to the Russian army and the Russian people. This great Russian Major General Konstantin P. Petrov saw the Pharaoh show and knows how the Nazi Templars of Octagon, Switzerland were the brain behind World War II, who are responsible for the murder on 25 million Russians because the Swiss Nazi Octagon Templars financed and ordered Hitler throughout the whole war. Let's team up.
Сейчас вот это то, что многие политики называют мировое правительство, силы Запада, там, как Жириновский, мировое закулисье, это и есть. И сейчас, начиная со времен Древнего Египта, вот эта мафия, которая управляет процессами на планете Земля, она мигрировала, и сейчас ее основная штаб-квартира – это Швейцария. Кстати, вот информация к размышлению. Многие зрители наверняка смотрели фильм «17 мгновений весны» про Штирлиц. Если там помните, вот вся Европа полыхала в пожарах войны, а доктор Плечнер кормил лебедей в Женевском озере. И спрашивается, если фюрер был такой лихой малый, то почему бы ему не взять и не грабануть швейцарские банки? Там же ведь деньги, золото лежало, а Гитлер туда не пошел. То есть Швейцария была неприкосновенной. Почему? Да потому что Гитлер прекрасно понимал, что в Швейцарии находятся его хозяева. И весь победный марш Гитлера по Европе был ничем иным, как сдача ему под единое руководство всего людского, промышленного и военного потенциала Европы для броска на СССР. А зачем? А дело в том, что осуществляя вот эту самую глобализацию, вот эти глобализаторы, они подвели человечество к глобальному системному кризису. И
This rare picture shows Adolf Hitler in Zurich, Switzerland in 1923, when the Swiss Templars financed him 30,000 Swiss francs, which is about €500,000 today, for the first financing only. And for the rest of the war, the Swiss Nazi Templars gave all the orders and made the concentration camps possible, even ordering them. These are all Swiss Nazi Templars' ideas.
ее уже мы продаем. Я вот помню маленьким мальчиком, то есть я из-под крана запросто воду пьешь, и, в общем, никаких проблем. А теперь из-под крана вряд ли кто воду пьет. Даже детишки уже не пьют. Они знают, бутылочки надо покупать, продавать там, из них водичку пить. Следующая проблема вот в этом смысле, чтобы представить ее, как она решается. Вот представьте, мы та самая мафия. Мы живем в Швейцарии. Вот. А в Чернобыле как жахнуло, как говорил Петруха, помните, в белом солнце пустыни. И радиоактивное облачко может до нас докатиться, и с неба дождичек может покапать.
While we're on the subject of Russia, let's remember Anatoly Fomenko's website at Moscow State University that's showing us how our understanding of ancient history was completely fabricated out of whole cloth in the 1600s. Ancient Greece actually took place nearly 1800 years later and occurred in medieval Greece. As for the Greek people, a significant number of them know there is no justification for the bankers to be grabbing their assets under an austerity program after two major newspapers in Greece covered the story about the global debt facility and the global currency reset to replace paper currencies with local currencies and national currencies minted from the gold in the global debt facility. The bankers are actually the ones who owe us money under the Treaty of Versailles bonds issued in the 1930s that are now worth more than $2 quadrillion and cancel country debt. The Universal Postal Union is the very center of the financial system. The Postmaster General of the United States is actually more powerful than the President of the United States under commerce. The Universal Postal Union was created 3 years after the bankers foisted a second secret constitution on the United States in 1871. This second secret constitution was not ratified and was not signed. It was foisted on the United States through obscure bankruptcy proceedings in 1871 when the Revolutionary War debt became due. Benjamin Franklin was appointed Postmaster of Philadelphia by the British in 1737 and became Postmaster for Virginia in 1753 and for Pennsylvania in 1757. By 1764, Benjamin Franklin lived in London and represented several other colonial governments as well. In 1775, the Continental Congress appointed Franklin as Postmaster General. Franklin renegotiated the Revolutionary War debts in the Treaty of Paris in 1783 to fall due in 1871. Benjamin Franklin knew what was going to happen when the Revolutionary War debts fell due in 1871. The deliberations of the Constitutional Convention of 1787 were held in strict secrecy. In the notes of Dr. James McHenry, one of Maryland's delegates to the convention, here is what happened when anxious citizens gathered outside Independence Hall in order to learn what had been produced behind closed doors. A Mrs. Powell of Philadelphia asked Benjamin Franklin, "Well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy?" With no hesitation whatsoever, Franklin responded, "A republic if you can keep it." In 1871, when the Revolutionary War debts fell due, the bankers replaced the Constitution of 1789 with a second secret constitution. On July 21st, I reported postal fraud to His Excellency Bishar A. Hussain, Director General of the Universal Postal Union International Bureau. This postal fraud is because Megan Brennan, the Postmaster General of the United States, did not do her duty in preventing postal fraud on 2 occasions. The first instance was when Jesse White, Secretary of State of the State of Illinois, invalidated the Global Debt Facility's lien on the Federal Reserve of Chicago. The Federal Reserve owes over $2 quadrillion in Treaty of Versailles bonds to the Global Debt Facility. Last week, the Global Debt Facility, on behalf of the 188 ministers of finance and development that administer the Global Debt Facility containing the world's assets, accused both the Postmaster General of the United States, Megan Brennan, and the Director General of the Universal Postal Union of postal fraud. That's because of 2 fraudulent letters that the Postmaster General carried through the mails. One letter was from Jesse White, the Secretary of State of Illinois, invalidating a financing statement that the Global Debt Facility filed to record a lien against the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. 188 ministers of finance cleared the letter that the Global Debt Facility wrote to Jesse White on April 19, 2015, informing Jesse White that he had no authority to invalidate the lien. The second letter was to Anne Arundel County in Maryland. The Secretary of State in Maryland had recorded the Global Debt Facility's lien against the D.C. Police Chief, Kathy Lanier, but Anne Arundel County was refusing to accept the recording tax so that the lien could be recorded in Anne Arundel County. The Global Debt Facility has a lien against Kathy Lanier, who is preventing the Global Debt Facility from completing the global currency reset and preventing the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development from complying with securities laws. Before your eyes glaze over, let me tell you what's at stake. all through the ages, people have been producing value and creating art, and this has accumulated into vast treasure. This wealth of the ages and treasure has come down to us in the global debt facility. The inventory list includes over 1 million metric tons of gold. As overseer mandate trustee, I have frustrated each and every effort to steal this wealth. Let me tell you about the latest effort that happened just this week. I sent an answer back the same day. It went to a Mr. Benny M. Salvador, and the reference was President Ferdinand Marcos' gold assets. I said, Ferdinand Marcos assigned all of the assets in the global debt facility before his death. Marcos's testament has nothing whatsoever to do with the global debt facility. As overseer mandate trustee, I work for the Board of Governors of the World Bank. Paragraph 6 of the agreement that governs the global debt facility, that agreement is called the Bilateral Minesfield Breakthrough Successor Agreement, says that it is up to the Board of Governors to authenticate. Authenticate means to say who's got the right to sign. The International Court of Justice has nothing to say on the matter. The ICJ has been trying many, many times to steal the world's wealth, and these attempts have all been invalidated. It would be a conflict of interest for me to represent Malbert A. Marcos. Goodbye. And then I signed my name, and I said that I was acting general counsel of the IBRD and also the overseer mandate trustee of the Global Debt Facility. And anyone that doubts that I fill those functions, they can ask any of the embassies to invalidate it. They can say that they should say that I'm an imposter. None of them have said this. I've met with them face to face. Now let me read you from the letter that I received on Saturday. It was, Dear Attorney Karen Hudis, we viewed your interview in YouTube dated 22nd May 2016 regarding the gold assets of the late President Ferdinand E. Marcos of the Philippines. Let me introduce myself. My name is Benny M. Salvador. I'm a close friend of a surviving son of President Marcos by the name of Malbert A. Marcos. Mr. Malbert A. Marcos is recognized as one of the legal sons of President Marcos by the International Court of Justice. We have documents showing that Mr. Malbert A. Marcos is indeed a son and heir of the late President Ferdinand Marcos. We would like to ask if you will accept us and Mr. Malbert A. Marcos as clients of your law office and assist us in claiming the assets left to him by the late President. We have the documents of the location of these assets, both gold bullion and cash. Other details regarding the assets can be discussed once you accept us as your clients and agree to help us in claiming the assets of the late President. Thank you, and we shall await your response. Benny M. Salvador. There are so many other attempts. There was the attempt to turn over the management of the assets in the global debt facility to the government of Texas. There was a request from a Japanese economist yesterday, actually it was the day before yesterday, to turn the creation of money over to the governments. We're also talking about foreign troops on United States soil. I have informed the governors about this and spoke to them during their meeting in Iowa of the National Governors Association. That meeting took place last week. The governors are not giving the actual title of property to the people in their states because these titles are going to the bankers. Instead, governors are using war powers to justify giving warranties of title. It's not the same thing. Instead of this legal mumbo-jumbo, just think about this picture showing how the strength of the United States is being undermined by this corruption. And Carmen, in this Studio A, I can't tell what's on the board. I assume that you've got a picture showing the United States, Uncle Sam, right, standing on his head, and he's balancing a piece of paper on his feet. And that paper is unconstitutional. It's not the United States dollar. And our job is to get constitutional currency before this paper issued by a private bank. The Federal Reserve is not an entity of the United States government. It's just simply part of this network of global corporate control, who we've learned has been in Switzerland, headquartered in Switzerland, and it's murdering whoever it decides it wants to murder. And I'm going to read to you an email that I sent to Governor Larry Hogan of Maryland. This is to inform Governor Larry Hogan and Major General Linda L. Singh, she's the Adjutant General of Maryland, that on behalf of the National Guard, I have advised Mr. Hervé Ladsou, head of the United Nations Department of Peacekeeping Operations, and Lieutenant General Maqsood Ahmed, military advisor in the UN's Office of Military Affairs, to remove any and all troops seconded on U.S. soil for peacekeeping operations. We're also talking about a cover-up of corruption. I've singled out the Attorney General of New York State because Manhattan's DA and New York tax authorities convicted Ferdinand Marcos's former maid, Vilma Bautista, of stealing Monet paintings. These paintings are owned by the Global Debt Facility. We have a golden opportunity right here and right now, and it only comes once. We, humanity, have inherited the means of restoring our health and the health of our oceans and rest of the world's flora and fauna as we use our wealth that we have accumulated through the ages in a global currency reset. The Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF, that is, the 188 ministers of finance and development, have decided to end this scam called paper currency. Let me show you a clip on dominoes falling.
And I will carefully place it. And there are 13 dominoes. And the largest domino, it weighs about 100 pounds and is more than a meter tall. Ready? Boom.
Why is this relevant? The dominoes represent stored energy. Ferdinand Marcos and Jose Rizal have set up the World Bank and IMF so that we can end the corruption in the international financial system peacefully. After working at the World Bank for over 20 years, I have a track record of reporting corruption in the international financial system. I was in the right place at the right time, and so when Jacek Kugler came to the World Bank with the National War College power transition model and then gave me a little instruction in how coalitions form, I have just been keeping everyone informed how the coalition for the rule of law is forming. And then there's a cartoon that you can see where the 1%ers are driving off with paddles and everybody else is up the creek. I told you at the beginning of this series what to watch for. People losing faith in journalism and the legal professions, and the significance is that this means that these people are wising up to the corruption, and also whether Germany and Japan were switching out of the Atlantic Alliance. And the only way to keep this from happening was to clean up the corruption. People are struggling to find ways of engaging with others who are reluctant to acknowledge the depth of the corruption. One reader calls this normalcy bias. I see I've got a few minutes, so let's talk a little bit about how to engage with people who are not, they're not receptive. And the short answer is don't. It's very difficult when you understand the extent of the corruption. It's challenging many of the things that you've been taught for a long time. And there's no way that unless somebody themselves is willing to look into the depth of the corruption, you're better off just leaving that person alone, even if it's somebody who's very close to you, because there's no way to reach these people. And also, we mentioned in other segments about some very powerful military technology, which makes it very difficult for people who are susceptible to that technology. It's just like hypnosis. Some people are not receptive to hypnosis. You can't hypnotize them. And some people can be hypnotized. So if you're dealing with a person who can be hypnotized, it's a waste of your time, and it's going to be useless or less than useless. It's going to be counterproductive. So, but the most important thing that you need to do is you need to learn who to trust and work with those people, because we are all in this soup together, and it's only by working together that we're going to get out of this soup. And my situation is that I am in the very crossroads, and I am trying to provide as much information as I can, both to the elites and also to the people, the 99 percenters is what they're called. And my job is to convince everybody that that's all that I'm doing, that I have no axe to grind. But it's very important for people to have confidence in me, that I understand my own foibles, that I understand when I'm being, people are trying to hoodwink me. And fortunately, we've been in this global currency reset for a pretty long time, and I've caught on to many of the tricks. There are new tricks all the time, and I do not mind admitting when I've made a mistake. And I guess I'm just a person who doesn't mind being in the middle of an audience. And I am in the middle of an audience, and everyone can see, because I'm accountable to everyone. And that's why I welcome your comments. I respond to your comments, and I post these videos as soon as we've completed them. And I would like very much for people to see what the other members of the audience, because we're all part of this network for the rule of law. And we have a choice. We're at a fork in the road. And fortunately, I believe that this power transition model is just like the dominoes falling. That was the purpose for seeing this video. I want to thank you for listening to another segment of the Network of Global Corporate Control. There's a lot going on as we put the puzzle pieces together in solving this whodunit. Please stay tuned as we learn how to transition peacefully and end the corruption in the international financial system. And I'm being told that I have a little bit more time. So you can see in Studio A that where the table is not a virtual table, that I'm able to use my hands. I believe we're going to be back in Studio B next time. The studio's been refurbished, but it's not online yet. So until next week, I'm your host, Karen Hudis.